It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I hope I will be echoing a number of the things that have already been said today. It's a wonderful event and so beautifully organised. So to tell you a little bit about myself, one of my earliest memories was winning a fancy dress competition at the age of 5. Now, costumes weren't the same as the licensed brands that we have today. So, all the girls were dressed in their christening outfits, their flower girl outfits, you know, the absolute real deal. Not me. I turned up with a crown made from card, a cloak which was actually an apron, and bracelets made from gold paper. And I won, not because I tried hard and everybody felt sorry for me, but because I was the only person not dressed as a princess. I'd come as Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was created by psychologist William Moulton Marston, who felt that stories were lacking a strong woman who would do whatever she set her mind to. Marston, who's also credited with inventing the lie detector, said, "Not even girls want to be girls as long as our feminine archetype lacks force, strength, and power." And so Wonder Woman spun into existence. Yes, it is notable that this feminist warrior was a man, and that there are some question marks as to whether his approach to what women want and need is maybe biased under that lens. But Wonder Woman and her incarnations after Marston have always been part of my heroes. Like hearing Jess here, I've never struggled as a woman, even as an ethnic minority woman, because I believe it's the so-called middle-class problems of the only child that in fact were a blessing to me. I have always been unique and spoiled and special. The world, even a world where my parents, 2 teachers from Malaysia, who trained in Liverpool, in Kirby, on their country scholarship programme, and after completing 5 years for their own government, migrated here, where my mum taught special educational needs and my dad taught craft design and technology, were still considered very much outsiders. My parents chose to change their life, and they worked hard to make it successful, despite facing negative bias. And that modelled for me that I could too. They gave me opportunities like dance, drama school, and then they made me stick at them when things got tough. So I learnt gratitude and I learnt tenacity. Plus I learned that opportunities were not just for people who looked a certain way. They taught me that with enough determination, I could jiggle doors open, but I had to have the strength and the qualifications to back myself up. There will be times when you may think you have been overlooked. And this may be because you're female. Maybe it's because you're Asian, you're black, you're gay. Insert discriminating factor here. Age is another one. Research has shown that black interviewees were given less speaking time, and the interviewers shuffled their papers a lot more. Women do receive lower pay. But also, men are sometimes forced to wear ties in hot weather when the same dress code doesn't apply to women. Bias exists. It will also affect us in our daily lives on perhaps a smaller scale. Maybe you've spent less time at a friend's house because they've had a baby, or got a dog, or got a cat, and you have no desire for any of those. Or maybe you've refused to lift just because someone has a car of a make you don't like. But ask anybody, were you actually discriminating? They may not even realise they were doing it. As with many things, our unconscious biases, as well as our self-belief, our assertiveness, and our drive is down to the messages that we receive. And with the best will in the world, we may not be able to change everybody else's narrative, but we can change our own. I've generally held the belief that being Asian and a woman hasn't held me back. I have a long career in teaching. I have 2 books with a 3rd on its way. I've got a regular guest slot with the Chrissy B show on Sky, and I'm very kindly invited to speak at events. And would I have been more successful if I'd been male or Caucasian? I don't know. And actually, I don't care. All genders, all ethnicities, and all people have demons. And it's only when we believe ourselves to be equal, simply as people, not as our title, not as our achievement, not as our fight, not as anything somebody else gives us or tells us. It's only when we believe it that we will finally become equal. There will be bias. But if you live your life on every level with the knowledge that your successes are yours, your work has paid off, and you delight in everything that you've done, nobody can take that away from you. And you'll probably even find you can climb even higher. Why? Because you know in yourself that you're pulling your own weight up those steps, and you're damn good at it. So for my talk, I wanted to focus on 5 key things that I've learned in my life so far. The first is reframe your thinking. I'd like a show of hands, please. Who here suffers from imposter syndrome? The feeling that you might be found out, that you shouldn't possibly be here, yeah. But who here also has good people around them to remind them that they are awesome? Good. Listen to those people. Firstly, it's respectful. Secondly, they don't have to say it. Often when we feel inferior, but objectively our achievements may make us equal to or above others, we need to reframe how we see ourselves. So try this. Try to identify what it is you see in others that you deem more successful. Then think about it, because recognize that it might be your on-paper accomplishments are exactly the same or perhaps even more, but it's just the way that they say it. It's the means of expression they have, or it's the story you have woven around it that makes you think, oh, they're better than I am. Then decide if you want to learn that particular means of expression, or if actually you're happy with your own. Or if you do want to do what they've done, simply ask them for help. Acknowledging our feelings, especially of envy, can actually help us take control of them. And if you realize you're happy as you are, remember, that doesn't mean you're secretly better than them. It's about appreciating yourself as equal and not beating others down. Number 2, live your truth. If you want to talk about something, talk about it. Then see who sticks around to converse with you. Yes, this may mean you need to edit some of your friendships, but it is better than feeling you're holding yourself back. How many times have any of you sat through an evening thinking, I would rather be sticking red hot pokers in my eyes than sitting here right now? Why do we do that to ourselves? Well, because we just don't want to be rude. There's nothing wrong with saying to people, I'm sorry, it's not my thing, and then inviting them to something else. If nothing else, it means at least you don't have to get invited to that thing again. No is a complete sentence. No thank you if you want to be a bit more polite with it. As long as you're not being overly antagonistic, express how you feel. As a student, I went through a phase of being given bird pens. Not because I liked them, but because someone saw I had two and assumed it was a collection. I went through a year of around over 30 pairs of eyes looking at me until I actually moved student accommodation and I told everybody I lost them. Think about the people in our lives who we value the most. They are often the people who speak authentically. And why do we value them? Because we know where we stand. Simply be those people. It's okay to edit your social groups. I used to produce a lot of community theatre, and I started the year I was asked to play the princess in Aladdin, and it was for 5 different companies. And I realised if I wanted to extend my repertoire beyond the obvious, I might need to do it myself. And in over 30 years of producing, I've performed abroad, at the Edinburgh Fringe, been involved in world premieres, and I'm even part of the theatrical Guinness World Record. But a few years back, I realised it was getting a lot more exhausting than rewarding. I've been pushing myself and my finances to keep doing what I'd fallen out of love with, simply because I thought that was the only reason I could see my friends. How many of us spend time doing something that we think everybody else wants to do, only to realise we're not in that place anymore? Aristotle defined 3 types of friends: friends of utility, friends of pleasure, and friends of the good. Friends of utility are those with whom you share a quid pro quo. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Friends of pleasure are those with whom you share a hobby, an interest, perhaps work. Friends of the good can come from both of those, but they are those with whom you share your ups, your downs, your heart, most importantly, your fridge. Many of my pleasure friends, theatrical friends, that I wanted to see had actually become friends of the good. I'd actually even married one of them. I didn't need to rehearse with them anymore. I simply needed to ask them, do you want a coffee? You're never obligated to do anything to be a good friend. And just because you were friends in the past doesn't mean your lives have to still intertwine. So spend less time questioning the relationships that you've become unsure of and focus on the ones that you know matter. I practice a lot of gratitude, and I'm going to ask you to do a little exercise with me now. So it's not too painful, I promise you. All I want you to do is just stretch out your hands, just have a little bit of a stretch, and think of someone you are happy to have in your life. Think of why and how they make your life better. Just have a think as you do this. Good. Now, relax your arms, stretch out your legs, and think of someone or something that you always look forward to seeing because of how great a time you have. Just have a think. Stretch out, stretch out, stretch out. And now shake out. And think of someone you value and respect because of their behaviour towards you. It might be a colleague, it might be a mentor. Not only is this little exercise really good for your posture, but actually if you do this enough, patterns start appearing. You will start to notice who and what turns up more often in your thinking. And all you need to do is spend a little bit more time engaging with those people and those things more often. I still perform theatrically, just a little bit less often, because theatre is a skill I have and I appreciate it, and I've been able to raise a lot of money for charity through it. And without good friends, how else would I be able to have a Rocky Horror Show flash mob at my first dance. Every single one of them had fishnets on underneath their wedding outfit. You can't do that without good friends. Point number 4, acknowledge your own achievements, because others won't be able to do it for you. And even if they do, you may not respect them, because you may see them as certificate chasers, and you know who those people are. They are the ones who list every single qualification at the end of their name on their email signature. Yeah. Oh my God, do I do this? When we don't recognize our achievements, we do become resentful. And resentment drains energy. Like many clients that I coach, I have had the phrase, high achiever, thrown at me. And those familiar with me do know that I have a joke where I say I have more titles than Daenerys Targaryen, which I do not list after my email, by the way. I do have more letters after my name than the alphabet, which is a bit sad. But those achievements actually meant nothing to me until recently, and that was after quite a lot of self-reflection. Why do we achievement chase? Well, there is the scientific side, which is a little hit of dopamine every time we get that certificate. And then we get another hit when we can post it on social media as well. And that just keeps you going a little bit longer. But at my age, there are fewer achievements to chase. And I get this sense of anxiety of, oh my goodness, I've got nothing to show people. And when I get that sense of anxiety, I start looking and scrolling through social media and then getting really jealous whenever I see somebody has posted something that I haven't done. And it could be anything, even something I don't even want to do, any pretty picture. And that is when we can start beating each other down. So learn to appreciate your accomplishments. Appreciate them for what went into them, for the learning, for the growth that you have had in achieving those. All of the things that you did that make you, you. Competition, imposter syndrome, needing to stick it to all the naysayers, all of that helps us achieve. It drives us and it motivates us. But there comes a point where what we achieve isn't to show all the naysayers, but simply is, well done, me. Other people don't always have time to appreciate you, so you need to. And my final point is to be kind. My grandfather was a Buddhist teacher in Malacca, and he always used to say, may I, every day, in every way, strive to make the world a little better than when I first came into it. So be kind. Be kind to others and be kind to yourself. We are all fighting invisible battles. We all have scars, and we are all just trying to get by. And just because some people seem more adjusted than others, it doesn't mean there's not stormy waters going on underneath. To return to Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, she said, no matter how small an act of kindness, generosity, or simple positivity you put out in the world, it will make a difference. Everything we do, it may not seem like much. Remembering a birthday, gifting a smile, putting a comforting hand on someone's shoulder, that can change someone's day. By standing true to our beliefs, but insisting on values such as integrity and loyalty, we are role modeling what we want our audiences, our students, our clients, our customers, our teams, and our children to see. and to expect and to demand from themselves and others. In being equal, we are creating equality. Equality is not just about having an awareness day. Equality is when the regular, habitual, natural self-belief of every person is to know that you are important just by being who you are. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to turn to the person sitting next to you. I'd like you to introduce yourself. I know you may know each other, but I want you to say your name proudly. So I'd like you to do that.
John doesn't.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. So, maybe it's time that we reclaim back that concept of the glass ceiling. It's glass, it can be broken. Every single person in this room fights to do that every single day. But it is only when you can stand firm in the fragments of that glass and say that I deserve to be here, that we will really be equal. Equality is about recognizing your value as individuals, value that's unique and special and deserves to be here. Wherever you come from, whatever your story, own your name, your narrative, and your voice. And that is how we start to be equal.